just a friendly reminder, we're now live streaming this. So I hope everyone's got their makeup on and looking good. So we'll move into any apologies. There appear to be none. Conflicts of interest? Appear to be none. Confirmation of minutes of the previous meetings. Do I have a mover? Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Ward. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. And then, yes, sorry.
Sorry, I can't vote. I said aye.
No.
Force it. Strike out.
And we'll move quickly on to our presentation from Vancourt with Miles O'Connor.
Mr. Chair, do we have matters arising?
Oh, my apologies, Councillor. Matters arising from the minutes. Councillor.
Yes, I note in the minutes, Mr. Chair, that a workshop was going to be held in February to discuss proposed Lagoima charging. I'm not aware that it happened, but I could have missed it. Do you know if that's happened or is going to happen?
To my knowledge, it hasn't. Is it on the card?
No, not aware.
3.4C.
Are you happy to answer that?
I can just very quickly, Mr. Chair. I think there's an update coming to this group in March on the one.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rubin. Right, presentation.
Miles hasn't come into Teams, so we should go straight to ENC.
Okay, yeah. As a matter of expediency, while we wait for Miles to come on, we'd like to invite Heather to come up and present ENC.
It's quick.
Sorry to catch you off guard.
That's okay. That's right. I'm well prepared if you notice I've got my pictures up as usual. Thank you for allowing us to present today. We're here to present our 6-month report to Council, what we've been up to, but more focusing on what we've got coming, because we also have presenting the statement of intent for the 25-26 year. So everything you see in our slides is pretty much our business as usual. So the presentation outlines that your investment is well placed again in Enterprise North Canterbury, that your businesses have access to all that we do, and we'll be covering that, what we're doing. Our programs are part of our strategy, which we developed last year, and there's 3 themes, and these are the 3 themes I'm going to cover. I've probably touched on them before, but I'm just recapping again what our 3 themes are. One is developing and maintaining a strong brand, regional brand identity. Do we have is this my camera? Just the right. You may have seen that logo. It's popping up everywhere in the supermarkets, on Harris Farms, all of their meat. That logo is for things that are produced and made in North Canterbury around food and beverage, and he's been a great promoter of that. One of the other things that we do with our made branding is the North Course. So that brings together eateries. We had 33 participating in November, which was just only a few months ago, and we had 864 public rate those dishes who even bothered to rate it, because a lot didn't actually rate. So that's actually those that went onto the website and rated the dish, and 48 local producers were involved as well. So that's matching the producers to the eateries and then showcasing that on a course, a North Course dish in November. That's up 60% on last year. So we're growing each year, and I think that's really a testament to the businesses who are involved in our facilitation in that. Looking ahead, we're actually going to expand the main North Canterbury directory. We have currently producers, and now we're making a directory on makers, because we've got some pretty amazing food makers in our region. So for example, in July we're going to launch another campaign, and it's going to be called Pie July, Bay North Canterbury Pie Trail. So we're going to be getting all the pie made in North Canterbury, and there's some amazing pies, and I'm sure you could give me a list, but Woodend pie I've heard is very good. There's Sheffield pies, which is made here. So we think there's at least 20 pies, and we're going to really do a big shout out to those. So they're makers. It has to be made here in North Canterbury, and that's another way to raise our brand awareness and people to shop local. One of our other brands is around North Canterbury, talent and business attraction, why people would come to live here or move here and work here. Because this was originally established for employers to use to attract talent, and as you know, we have had an influx of talent from the borders opening, and there's not the same need from employers seeking talent. But we've pivoted to actually push it out to business attraction as much as talent attraction. So we're doing all of the reasons why a business would set up here. We're interviewing a lot of existing businesses. Why did they move here? What's so great about doing business here? We're working with local developers and commercial property owners as well. And our brand we're going to be rolling out is North Canterbury, proud to be here, and that you'll see that probably August, September this year. Our second theme is around existing and new businesses, supporting them to grow and prosper. Under that again is business attraction, and there's some faces of people who've successfully started up small businesses as a result of our working with them to get them through the first stage of launching. Some of the achievements, we had 26, I think that's 26, 28, thank you, small scale potential businesses directly supported. 13 data sets were provided to different businesses looking to move here, and we have 49 people registered for our new business startup course, which we run online. So it's available all time, anytime. So if you come across anybody looking to start a business, send them to our website, waimakariri.govt.nz, and it's all about starting the business, so it's really good. We've been working with the Dark Skies Accreditation. We've been supporting RAL and the trust there. Also, Canterbury NZ are developing a Canterbury-wide Dark Sky Trail that's in its very early stages. But working from Kaikoura down to Mackenzie. Stirling Geriatric Hospital, as you know, is going to be a major facility in Kaikoura. We've also been developing resource pages around sustainability and farm diversification. We've also been working with Mark and his team on this climate basics for small businesses, SMEs mainly, which is just with waimakariri businesses accessible. We've got 10 that will do the pilot, and it's four courses, and they'll come through there and know what they need to do to reduce their carbon in their business. So we're expecting that to be and as you know, we run the business opinion survey. So we've also got Guy, who does the business support one-on-one. We receive funding from NZTE, or MV as it's called now, to work with businesses. Our KPI is 48, but we work with far more businesses than 48. They don't always need the money that's on offer. Often they just need the guidance of where to go. So that's our role, is to connect them with the experts, because we're not the experts. And as you know, we run a training centre out of our business centre. So we run all our training courses, and now we're actually getting a lot of other trainers using our facility, which is really what we wanted to do. And this morning we're running a new program. We're going to run one every 2 months, and if it works well, we'll do it every month. We will have a speaker come in for an hour. We're calling it Business Essentials, what you need to know in your business, and this one's around leadership. We'll be launching the Business Awards. They return in 2025. That'll be June. We'll be doing the launch, and the actual awards is going to be on Halloween night, 31st of October. Our third theme is around growing visitor numbers to the Waimakariri. We have a contract with the Waimakariri District Council. As you know, we operate the eyesight. It really does look stunning, and Pauline are doing an amazing job. We get a lot of foot traffic now with the Motorhome and Caravan Association, but we're the only eyesight in Canterbury. so physical eyesight. So we're getting a lot of people come out from Christchurch. We're inundated with phone calls and bookings. So as a result, our bookings are up 60%. And that's what we offer: brochures, local referrals, event information, cycle trail inquiries, like you wouldn't believe, walking trails. And we get a lot, bus inquiries. People can just jump on the bus, as you know, run into town and come back out again. So there's a lot on offer, and we're giving a lot of information. And the business centre, we have certainly grown that. It's taken a while, but we're very fortunate to be there because of the sponsors who pay our rent, but of course they want to be aligned with the NZ and all that we do. So that's our brand, Waimakariri. And some of our photos and images that we're now pushing out through our website, our social media, our campaigns, and there's some of our reels which are going on Instagram and the like. So we're really gathering a lot of really great images and videos to tell our story about why people should come here and visit. So Zoe and Janine went up to Hamilton in September, and as you can see, there were 23,000 people went through the door, and we were promoting Waimakariri as a great place to come. And honestly, we didn't have to, because they're coming and they say how wonderful the facility is, and they rate it as in the top 2 of New Zealand, so that's really fantastic feedback. But we still handed out over 400 brochures and welcomed them to Waimakariri. Our campaigns this summer has been where you can swim between the mountains. Of course, that's Ashley Gorge. A waterfall worth chasing. You've got to get there first. That's Ryde Falls. And of course, some lovely gardens why you would love Waimakariri. So I just wanted to finish off with one of the reels that we've had on with Instagram, and we used a content creator called Rhodey NZ, and if you follow them, their team goes all over New Zealand. So we hosted them for 3 days in the Waimakariri district. This is part of our summer campaign. They have 225,000 followers, and this reel that you're going to see currently had 96,000 views. Oh, sorry, there is volume there. But, it's very cool. There's a lot of those places anyway. So they go out and actually video all of this. They go to farmers markets, they get on their bikes, they do the swimming, they do the eating. So they are our content creators, and it's a very good, useful way to also get on board with somebody that's got such a great following. So look, just in summary, our region is leading the way. We know that construction, hospitality, retail, it's been a tough year. Tourism, though, has had a stronger end to 2024 with rising international arrivals and slightly more domestic travelling. This year we're going for growth. Lower interest rates means more cash in the pockets of everyday New Zealanders. I just want to acknowledge the ENC board for setting the direction of the small council controlled organisation that we are, for providing foundation funding, our sponsors that support all we do, and my team that shows up for work with passion every day to support local business. Our themes are what drives our results: building a strong regional brand and providing exceptional, accessible business support to all local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Do you have any questions, Councillor Williams?
Yes, thank you for that report. 2 questions. How are you getting it out? There's a lot of small pie makers in Waimakariri. How are you going to make sure you get out there so they all know about that situation so you don't miss a few of them?
I don't think we will miss them. There will be word mouth, but we'll also use you people to say, and then once we've got, look, we thought originally, and of course we'll include Haranui as well because it's North Canterbury, and I think that there's going to be quite a few up there. As you know, PJ Pies themselves with their crayfish pie went ballistic, and it had actually TV1 coverage. So we want to do the same for the rest of Waimakariri and put all those other pie. But honestly, when we get the list, Paul, I'll give it to you and see if you know of others that we can include. Yes.
And the other thing is, you've got business support. I see you're doing a lot for new businesses. How are you getting it out there that some of the businesses out there that are really struggling, that you can possibly help them? Is it only just on your website? 'Cause a lot of businesses don't use webs to get that assistance. How are you getting it out there?
Well, we also use the Promotions Association, so they're obviously big advocates as well, and in fact in their newsletters they include everything that NZ does, so regular promotions, newsletters, cardboard promotions. Oxford, I haven't seen any of the newsletter lately, but they know we exist, you know we exist, and also word of mouth in a small district like Waimakariri is very strong. So in fact, you know, I do go and ask a lot of people, have you ever heard of Enterprise North Canterbury? And often they do. It's got a strong brand, and I think moving to Kaiapoi even gave us a strong one with having the signage on the building and having a nice site there too.
So you don't have any local advertising or anything like that?
Yeah, we spent the month of November on the gold package of cuppas. So every 5 minutes it was, if you're looking to start a new business or if you want to have business support, it went over and over, but we don't know what fee. We didn't actually have anybody come and say, I heard you on the radio, but we tried different ways of doing that. We also have media reports that we put out through the newspapers, and that was very good. You know, when we have the business confidence survey, he publishes that, we tell them what businesses to interview. So yeah, but as I said, word of mouth is very strong. We haven't really had to market, but we certainly, you know, we do it through different organisations. Even Amberley and NZ are inviting us to their meetings as well, welcoming support. So one on many is a lot easier than one on one.
Thank you for that. We've got Councillor Fulton followed by Councillor Wheaton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Heather, for what you do, and of course the group. I'm interested in the idea of building business capacity. I had a couple of conversations in Oxford with people in the last week or two about growth in the town and growing numbers. Ash Gorge Reserve, we had some feedback through our community board that since the TV piece, we have a lot of visitors, sometimes a bit more than they can handle. There's sort of a bit of mixed feelings, you know, and so as you build that growth, can you provide some sort of vendors with some sort of support, people that's working with council to actually prepare for growth? Same for a coffee shop, they can take car groups if only there was parking in Oxford, you know, that sort of thing, you know.
I'm not sure how to answer that, Tim. I haven't had that conversation with them, but I would like to, and see how I can facilitate anything that we can support that. Like our role is to promote waimakariri to visitors, and I think that we're doing a pretty good job of that. I haven't heard that they're over capacity. There is peaks, obviously. It's like the muscle car madness that weekend is overflowing as well. But I can certainly go and talk to Oxford Promotions Association.
The New Zealand Motor Caravan Association is a good example where we've dramatically increased the amount of patronage in a particular area by way of providing infrastructure, providing SDC with the eyesight, and of course, as that has grown, we have provided different types of services and infrastructure. So we've looked at our car parking, we've been talking to business owners and those sorts of things. So we can alter it. It's really one of those chicken and egg type things. You know, do you provide the infrastructure hoping they'll come, or do you create the demand and then wrap the infrastructure around it? So if there's an issue there, we're happy to look into it and have a chat to the folk there and see what we're going to do to help.
I think the dark sky is probably the example of that, of preparing the case for that, more visitors.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a slow burn, but we're certainly promoting it more. And as I said, the whole Dark Sky Trail is at very early stages, so we'll keep you posted on that.
Thank you, Councillor Fulton. Councillor Wheaton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a thought, Heather, when you come to open your pie trail, I understand Minister Bishop is very
Pine
interested in
connoisseur.
pines.
Yes, he is.
Oh, I thought that was Ben.
Few others of us are.
Yes, but anyhow, my question was, with the eyesight, what is the focus there? Is it on promoting local businesses or more regional? What's the coverage of the eyesight?
All of the above, all of the above. So people want to know what there is to do locally, and we do get people also that want to stay locally. So we first of all see who's available, where they can stay. Secondly, what there is to do locally, and a lot of them are locals that want to travel on the say Pacific Explorer or whatever that train trip picked in, because it only travels sort of 3 months of the year, so we get a lot of inquiries around that. People even from Rangiora come down to book the Transalpine. Seems to be the train trips for the locals that want to actually experience something like that. And internationals, we're getting a lot of different internationals that have come maybe from south heading to Kaikoura, so we'll be booking Whale Watch. So we get 10, 15, between 10 and 15% commission on everything we book, whether it be local or out of town.
Right. And lastly, your brand is Waimakariri, North Canterbury. If you're presenting it ambly to the Huranui Council,
They don't
we-
see
they don't see
that.
that.
No, because we're not.
Well, that was what I was wondering, are they Huranui North Canterbury?
No, certainly not. We have a contract for the Waimakariri District Council, but we don't for Huranui. They have their own tourism organisation, as you know, Visit Huranui. And why we started the North Course is so that we could cover both districts and do a good job of it. And that's the only time they come to play is when Enterprise North Canterbury sets a campaign that will include them. And that's what the Pie Trail is too. Because I think there's good collaboration. I've always worked well with Graham Abbott and his team, but we are Visit Waimakariri. This contract that you see, our videos, our images are all what Janine and Zoe produce and Anna from the eyesight, but the Make North Canterbury is that to cover both districts and to include 2 tourism organisations, so we get bigger bang for our buck to expose North Canterbury as well. But it doesn't come from the Waimakariri District Council funding. It's used to pay.
Oh, I just wondered the relationship, so thanks for explaining that.
Just been advised of some technical difficulties at the moment, so moving forward after this report, we're going to be adjourning for 5 minutes while we can connect to Miles. And I appreciate Miles' patience at the moment, so if we could potentially keep questions brief as possible. Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will keep them brief, just the 2 quick ones, and thank you, Claire, for coming on as well. Based on the success of the North Course, and it's wonderful to see it growing each year, are you measuring the repeat business that's been derived with the connections that you've already struck up between the suppliers and also the retailers? Are you measuring that repeat business?
Yes, because last year we had, I suppose this was November, so the year prior before, we had 21 businesses that were part of it. Some pulled out, but we gained an extra 12. So there is some moved away, some businesses closed down, so we do measure that. We do actually do a survey at the end of it as well, asking the cafes how many dishes they actually sold, because the ratings don't actually, and did it increase. We got 2 out of the 33 respond. I know, they're terrible at that survey.
But in terms of the relationship you've set up there, virtually through the North Course, have they continued that relationship in terms of that they've continued to buy from, say, as an example, Harris Meats? Have they continued that relationship on? Is that being measured? The reason why I ask is because I would imagine that the whole purpose of the North Course is to encourage the local retailers to use local produce.
100% Brent, but the key aspect is that it's not ENC's or the council's job to check that everybody's using those products on a regular basis. They meet the criteria, they use the products, you can't then walk into business and go and do they continue to use them 6 weeks later. And I have to honestly say, hand on my heart, we do use a lot of North Canterbury products ourselves and very proudly, but I can also say there are a lot of businesses that use them for 6 weeks and don't use them after that.
Okay.
and it is a campaign for that month, so, but we're hoping that would continue, honestly.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not our role also to grow sales, it's our role to promote the awareness of those that can, like, start the campaign, promote the campaign, and then we, you know, because we can't do it 24/7, we can't do it 12 months of the year, we've got only 0.5 of a person doing this role, so, yeah.
And the final question, in terms of the numbers of foot traffic, you said that they're increasing, so what are they? And in terms of the sales that you're generating from the people that come into the eyesight, what percentage is actually from the foot traffic versus online? Do you actually monitor what's online versus foot traffic?
Yes, we do. We actually do. But a lot of the foot traffic is seasonal, so it's really heavy at the moment. So probably October, and we actually open every Saturday, as you know, through 6 months, October through to April. And so we're getting a lot of foot traffic, particularly from the local camper van park, huge amount. And they want to know what can they do locally. I mean, they're there because they want to be, because then they'll travel somewhere else and do something locally there. So they're probably always grabbing out cycle trail maps. We're sending them up to their markets and telling them what there is to do. Internationals, we've had, as I said, it's seasonal. Locals, as I said, it's around different promotions. Train rides, ferry, we book ferry tickets over Christmas. It's very seasonal.
All right, thank you.
But we do track everybody that comes in.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Councillor Jens.
Just to thank you, Heather, for the presentation. Really good. You know I support what you do, so I'll take your note, Mr. Chair. Yesterday, and I think it really follows on from what Councillor Redmond was asking yesterday, one of my drop-in session, I had a significant business owner come in to see me. He was very concerned, in his opinion, that the eyesight's not doing enough to promote his business in Kaiapoi, and it seems to promote those from further afield. Like, I'll come and see you about it privately, but I'll just be interested, the way the specifics here, the content that the eyesight is promoting of our district versus the content from other areas, because that was quite a major point of the meeting yesterday. I think it would be good for that to be clarified when we're in the public forum.
Sure, yeah. So if you come into the eyesight, the entire brochure stand as you enter is all waimakariri and Christchurch. Then the other side is out of district. So we've got all our event guides, we've got all our own official visit guides, and we've got operator pamphlets as well, in like the Tū Haitara Coastal Track, the walks and e-cans, bus trip. We've got a lot. So yeah, I think you maybe should come in and see.
I'm
local.
I understand that, but it's not me that needs to
No,
be convinced of that. The social media aspect, what's the local content versus external? I see that, but that's a perception that was raised yesterday. So is that what is the local percentage of local content versus?
All of it's local. All of our reels, all of our photography, and it gets put on Instagram, Facebook. As you say, not everybody does that. It's on our websites. We've got over 40 itineraries, and I'm pretty sure that one of your businesses that would have come to see you would have been on one of those itineraries and one of those reels. I'm pretty sure.
It's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you for that. No further questions. We've got a mover from Councillor Ward. Do we have a second? Councillor Fulton. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Heather, for your presentation. I can see that, you know, over the last few years that I've been here, that how you've grown, you've grown the profile for us, which is really, really good, and it seems to have become so much more professional than when I first started 6 years ago. So well done. You know, there's a lot of progress, and I'm looking forward to. You've only a small team, and you're doing amazing things, and really the work that you do. So I really want to thank you all for the work that you do, and I look forward the business awards this year, but also I look forward to hearing from you in the next quarter about the growth that we're experiencing in Waimakariri. So thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Fulton.
I can't really top that, Council. No, thank you. I just know in a recent situation we've had, I was really pleased with the responsiveness of your team to the discussion around cycle trails and things. And yeah, that was really great, and we'll see where that goes. But yeah, really appreciate that, just to see the district-wide picture and the opportunities that exist. Cycleways and walkways and recreation. So, well done. Thank you.
Right, we'll just quickly pause debate here for a second and just ask you to speak briefly to your statement of intent in the report.
Thank you, Chair. You'll see that this report actually had a number of recommendations. The 6 month report has been covered by Heather very tactically. The other part of this report, of course, is the Council's opportunity to have a look at the statement of intent and provide feedback on that statement of intent with the knowledge, of course, that provides a little bit of time for us to reflect on the Council's feedback if it has any, or the community's feedback if it has any, and bring that statement of intent back to this group before June for adoption for the following year. So very happy to take feedback. You'll see in the report that NC is tracking well against budget for this financial year, but the statement of intent covers the 25-26 year, and the activities that NC proposed to undertake for that year on behalf of the Council. Very happy to take feedback if councillors have feedback on that statement of intent.
Mover or seconder, did you have any feedback on the statement of intent?
No, I read through all that and really think that you're on track. And I know that it's difficult times keeping tight constraints on budgets, and I know that you're performing very well and good value for money. So thank you very much. I'm happy with your statement of intent.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Fulton, anything to add?
Just actually query connected earlier was in the form of a question, but it says, are local promotion groups association a key partner of the ENC, and in what way? What is you see that? A key partner?
Yes,
yeah. They're in the statement of intent.
Yes,
and that.
yeah.
Yeah.
They have been and they will continue to be. I just attended a member of promotions committee meeting just last month. I've asked to meet with OPEC, but I seem to have trouble getting hold of Peter. Kaipui Promotions, they're very supportive of what we do. They came along to our, we had a travel writer come in and talk to businesses on Monday last week about how to get their business in travel magazines. And Kaipui Promotions came away. We had great feedback from Tracy, saying it was one of the best workshops she's ever been to. So that will continue our relationship with promotions. They are a key stakeholder in the district and funded by councils as we are. So I see it as a very important relationship to maintain.
I was just going to ask you, Mr. Chair, is there a form of facilitation we can do to improve your contact with OPEC and might be redundant?
I hate to say, I've emailed him, I've rang him, I've left messages with Peter, but he's not returned any calls. Yeah.
Apologies for that break away from usual procedure. Gordon.
Thank you, Chair.
Gordon, sorry.
You can go. You go first. I was under speaking order, but you go.
Who is the mayor?
I'm pleased we are addressing the statement of intent, given that it is the report. And you can't move forward properly unless you look where you've been. And that was a good address and really good slideshow to show where you are, and the figures in here show that you're heading up, as we should be, in some pretty tough years that we've had in the past. Tourism in the country has returned to the figures that it was previously in COVID, so we should be moving up. The thing that I'm most pleased about
is the fact that while the chips have been down, we've moved forward in a big way, not just in a little way. We've addressed what we've needed to address to get to where we are today, so that we hit the ground running when people arrive in this district. And that's what we've done, and you've done it extremely well. The eyesight's an interesting one. It'll always be a controversial piece of equipment, and you know how dear that is to my heart. The information centre, but it's very real, and I'm interested in the comments of the Mayor after his session yesterday, and the fact that people will always come in and find out what's to do locally, but then they want to know where they're going. They're not coming to Kaiapoi to stay there, they're moving through. So they need to know where to go and what to do. So you have to promote both ends. If you want people coming through any town, you have to tell them where to go to next. So while it doesn't look like you're promoting your town, they are there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have walked through your door. So, you know, you've got to get that balance right, and I believe you have got that. You've got your walls of your brochures, and brochures are only one part of it, but you're promoting what is in the district and what's there to be seen and what's there to be done, and that's very obvious in what's here. If people can't see that, well, they need to have a bit of a closer look, I'm afraid, because as I say, I absolutely have seen a step up in the advertising, in the social media, in the brand that people are starting to recognise now, which, you know, there's always an argument around the word waimakariri, and that people don't know what it is, and I've always said that works in your favour, not against you. If people are asking you what it is, how do you spell it, where is it, what does it do, then they want to know. So we're obviously telling them because they're coming. And the Motorhome Association has been a major part of that, and there are people that are spreading the word right around this country of where to go and why to go. So good on you, congratulations. I look forward to what's in the statement of intent continuing on. It's almost a business as usual type thing, and right at the present time with tourism getting back to what it was and where we're at in this country's economic situation, that is where we need to be. I mean, the big flash things can come later on as we move on, and we can target things if we need to. But right at the moment, stay the course, keep going, and that's what this SOA says. And I look forward to it carrying on and good success.
Thank you very much. We'll try this again here, Gordon.
The words definitely earlier as well, so I was very happy with that. And Neville has a lot of experience in this area, so I always enjoy hearing what he has to say from his past experience and helping set up a lot of what we have now. I support the statement of intent, but there is one thing that we've already indicated to the NZ will be subject to council briefing at some point. It's around, through the portfolio holder, we've been looking at signalling a review of the events funding and how that may be delivered. No decision being made there, hasn't been discussed with the councillors yet, but there's certainly a view there around that, and we will work on that, and there will be a role for ANC, of course, as part of that, to give their feedback and reflection about how that's operating. But I think that's healthy to have that conversation about what is the best way in which to deliver that. Around ANC, look, you can't be everything to everyone, and for those I know you try, and you work really hard at that. I get excellent feedback. I was at the business networking event last week. All the parties in there in some way informed and had some connection. Then you look at the projects that were listed earlier and the work that Miles and the team and Heather are doing, ensuring that we're having the right opportunities brought to this district and considered. Not all of them get over the line, we know that, but it's just like any business proposal, due diligence ensues, but they start at the door here, and there's a number that come see me that I refer straight to ENC to us that they take them through that process, and a lot then find the opportunities that they need. And I just am always appreciative of that professional service that is given. The Eyesight Council decided to keep that. It was against all the advice from where everyone else was going in the country around the changes, but that was our decision, and we appreciated that ENC did abide by that direction or preference that was given by the council, and I do want to see that it works as it needs to, and I think Neville's exactly right. There is plenty of material there and information. A business owner, as I mentioned earlier, was raising some suggestions yesterday, and I'll pass those on to you, and I'm sure you will follow that and answer those questions more than adequately. Councillor Fulton raised around parking in Oxford, and we did ask that when the parking review was undertaken, that those areas outside of our town centres of Kaiapoi and Rangiora are explored. And I was in the butcher in Oxford on Saturday, and I know that parking's been asked because he was asked. So our team have been up there and made some inquiries. I think Shane was very impressed to know that Oxford was on the map. And so, well, it is, because we asked for that to be explored. There is parking in Oxford. Actually, it's just knowing where to find it. It's a big park near the museum and area. Not a lot of people know that it's there and can be used, but I have heard that too, Councillor Fulton. I've always direct people that something we probably need to look at is the adequacy of signage for that and those things. And we've talked about using online tools and those apps and those things. I know we're exploring that. But just in general, thank you to Heather and the team. Myself and Jeff are on the board as the council's representative on the board, and I know firsthand how hard they work, especially Claire. I think we forget that the board is a voluntary board. It is. There's no remuneration for trustees. They all do it because they're passionate about our area, and we've been very fortunate to secure the services of some outstanding trustees, and Claire as chair, I think is doing an absolutely superb job working with the team. But there's some retiring trustees, their names have just recently been mentioned. I must find a way of how we suitably recognise that service, because again, it's voluntary. They come along and they give of their time generously, and they bring their expertise. And the questions that Councillor Williams raises before are the very questions that the board are asking in the appropriate way in which test the model in which ENC is delivering on, to ensure that not only are we meeting the statement of intent, but the business and community expectations. So I'm very comfortable with the model we have, and very supportive of it, because I see firsthand how hard they work. For the resource we put in, my goodness, we get an extraordinary return. Listening to Business New Zealand and Business Canterbury, the recent presentation I went to, I then look at what we're delivering here, and I think all of us can be justifiably proud of what is done by ENC. So thank you to Heather and the team for the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Gordon. Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has been a good presentation, Peter, so thank you for coming along and also speaking to the report. I note you have a larger operating surplus, about 4 times greater than what was budgeted, so that was a piece of good news. Hope I've got that right. This is a better than budget result of 47,000. I think you all do an excellent job, so I'd like to thank you, Chair Claire, and all the trustees and staff. I certainly have no hesitation in referring people to you, and I've got someone that I'm working with at the moment that you may end up with shortly. So I'd just like to thank you for the work, and that ENC is one of the things I'm very proud of, so you do an excellent job.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I'll take it as a general comfort from the committee with your statement to continue moving forward. We've had 3 people speak for. Is there anyone speaking against the motion? With that, what we'll do is we'll put them on the table. Oh, sorry, right of reply. Councillor.
No, I think everybody's has said all the appropriate things, and once again, thank you. And we look forward to working with you in the next year.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Very well. And as mentioned before, we'll go to a 5 minutes recess. Grab a cup of coffee, and we'll meet back here soon.
Miles away.
Right, so I just got a letter to do, so I'll just have a look at it.
And park in the main street, I can't really, in the same feature.
Well, our car club goes in quite often. We go into where the cricket ground is, the reserve here.
Yeah.
skipping the Bancorp presentation this morning. So we'll proceed to 5.1, which is the 6 months financial statements for Te Hatata Trust.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, without Nicole to back me up, I'm flying blind here, so be nice to me. Okay, so I'll just do a little bit of background preamble. Some of my comments are will cover 5.1, some might cover 5.2. I apologise if they overlap a wee bit, but they're the same comments for both parts of the report. A little bit of background. It's a little bit outside. This is a report on the 6 months period ending, but going back a little bit further than that to explain why we are where we are. We had sort of the perfect storm over the last 12-14 months. As you remember, we got into the Waikuku beach camp, and we sort of panicked a bit, and under the leadership of the time, we pulled away from that where we probably shouldn't have. And as fallout from that, there were 3 personal grievances came out of that, which cost the trust $18,000 to resolve. Then we had our head ranger resigned, and our education ranger resigned. So it was a bit of a perfect storm, as I say. We spent $20,000 hiring Nick Chapman as manager, and he lasted less than a year and left for personal reasons, family reasons. So we had all of that happening, and of course funding is down, as everybody knows, who's been applying for funding in the last 12 months or so, or longer. In the middle of all that, the iwi withdrew their funding from their side without consultation, which was a bit of a bombshell. That has since been replaced with a similar level of funding, but I'll talk more about that later. So that's why financially we have a hole, as you'll have noticed. The good news is that all those things are one-offs. The other thing that's hitting us, of course, is inflation. The price of trees have gone up, the price of contractors are up, the price of guards for the trees are up, the price of mulch has gone through the roof, although we have got quite a good source of free mulch. So we're, like everybody else, we're fighting the inflation thing. But apart from that, all those other things we've mentioned are one-offs. They explain why our finances are not looking brilliant, but we're working to a way out of those. So solutions. I've got a list here, no particular order. We at the moment have a funding stream coming. When I say coming, touch some wood. We're shortlisted for $200,000 from DOC, which will be a big help to us if we get that. That's arriving in May if we get it, and our staff are fairly confident that we will get that. The Karaki camp leases, there we have a little bit of progress there. As you know, we were sort of ready to go, and then the FFL, the floor level thing, kicked in, which put the kibosh on people signing up for them because of the short-term lease added to the cost of foundations. At the moment, we have a very competent local builder who is working on a new foundation concept, which he'll bring to our engineers and our planners, and there may be some light at the end of that tunnel. And of course, we've got 20 or even 40 sections there. If we can get even half of those on the lease market, that instantly solves our financial problems. So again, touch wood. Marketing strategies. We've got 2 businesses at the moment approaching us. One quite large, one smaller, wanting to set up commercial operations in the camp. That will be money coming in. If that works, we are not, in the interests of finance, we're not replacing the general manager who's just left, Mr. Moody. We have worked out a system where the 2 rangers who have been promoted to senior rangers are doing a very good job of running the place. And so we will not be replacing our manager as such, and that of course is 110k a year that we're not paying out. So that's part of our recovery program. We have refreshed the board. It's fair to say that for the last couple of years, some of the the trustee board members were there to eat their lunch and contributing very little. We have refreshed our side of it with 2 new board members, one of whom of course is Neville, and the iwi side are refreshing their side as well. And we're restructured the whole thing. The board has been we've been in a situation for years now where the general manager ran the thing and the board turned up once a month and for an hour and were told what had happened. We're changing that pretty rapidly. We're restructuring the whole thing. The board is going to take a much better hands-on work program. And in my case as chair, as opposed to previous, I'm now doing 5 to 10 hours a week, just as getting involved, and so are the other trustees. Iwi, the moment, for every dollar the iwi put in, the council's putting in 10, and this is meant to be a cooperative, co-governance, equal partner situation. I've asked Jeff to go and approach the iwi and say, this really is not favourable or even sustainable. What if anything, can the iwi do to up their contributions? So we're pushing hard for some more finance from that source. That said, we are doing our best to keep things ticking along. We are definitely moving into an emphasis on maintenance as opposed to new projects. In other words, we're going conservative. We're focused now. Huria Reserve and the Mahangakai planting is fine. It's got its own funding from the management plan from regeneration. It's got plenty of money. It's ticking along very nicely. The rest of the management of the park, we're definitely pulling our heads in and looking at maintenance, maintaining what we've got, keeping things open for the public, rather than launching into new projects, because frankly we just haven't got the money to do anything unless we can get external funding. Of course, from our internal funding, we're with the exception, as I said, of Mahangakai, it's pull our heads in time and work our way out of the financial situation we find ourselves in. So that's for me, and any questions I'll endeavour to answer.
Thank you very much. Councillor Reed.
Thank you. I should call you Mr. Blackie, I guess, in your current role. I just wondered, from what you've said, you're upgrading your trustee structure and becoming more professional. Who looks after recruitment and HR for the trust?
Council.
The council.
Yeah, the council HR department have been very good. They're doing a lot of they do basically all of it for us, yes, and governance and HR.
Right. Secondly, what external grants have you received? And I'm not referring to the iwi or council. Yeah. Do you get grants from RATA or any other biodiversity type?
Yes, lots of people, little ones from University of Canterbury. RATA have dried up a lot, as you probably know. RATA focusing on housing and education now, which doesn't really fit our system. We're not getting money from RATA like we used to. DOC and ECAN come to the party. Trees that count, million metre trees. Some of them give us money, some of them give us free trees. So our staff are constantly searching. It's one of their main roles is to source and secure external funding.
Right, thank you.
Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Blackie. I just noticed in the 6 months profit and loss operating expenses, you've got a lot of instances there where something didn't happen, but there was no budget allocation, but you spent money, or vice versa, in different areas. And it's not they're not discrepancies, but they're just. Yeah. I'm just sort of struggling with that old picture sometimes where you are spending in areas where you didn't budget to spend, or you're not spending in areas where you were going to spend. native forest regeneration, I think was Huri Reserve was underspent quite a lot, for example. There's lots of examples. So just that management there, is it a little bit, yeah?
Yes, the answer is yes.
I would say all over the show, but
it was all over the show, and we didn't know how much it was all over the show really until our two, Emily and Kelly, our new senior managers, did a deep dive into this, and we are basically rebuilding the whole thing. The whole policy structure thing is being rebuilt, and then week by week they're discovering things that should have been I's that should have been dotted and T's that should have been crossed but haven't. Like for instance, we found in the last 2 months, two of the three vehicles weren't registered. The diesel miles hadn't been paid. This sort of thing. It wasn't being well managed.
So what was there? I don't know whether this is the correct phrase. Unauthorised spend. I mean, if you spend in areas you have budgeted for.
No, it wasn't unauthorised spending. It was just the whole budget and development plan thing wasn't in place like it should be, but it is rapidly becoming that way.
Yeah.
Councillor Ward, then.
Thank you, and I have to say thank you for hanging in there. Al, you do a wonderful job. But my question is, what is the future? We've just got two ladies that have been stepped up and are actually sort of doing an amazing job. So, are you going to be able to cope with just those two ladies with the new structure, or are you going to need to get more volunteers, or how are you going to work there to sort of keep the maintenance going?
Oh, well, the volunteer thing's a separate issue. Our two newly promoted senior rangers are doing an excellent job, and by general consent, the place is running better than it has for a long time, and the public who were breaking off diplomatic relations, you could say, with the trust, have all come back, and they are very, very pleased with the way things are heading. The volunteer labour thing is a completely different issue. We're surviving at the moment, and will continue to do so with the PD gangs who come 2 or even 3 times a week, and we get free labour from them, and we've got an excellent manager running them, and along with our rangers on the ground who run them, and we're getting a lot of work out of them. We've got to do more in the way of promotion for our planting day. We've got a planting day coming up in 3 weeks, on the 5th of April. It's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We've got to get out there and get more public in for the planting days, because we do rely on that slave labour, free labour. So does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Blackie, just around some of those finances, is it not true that some of the finances that are on the paper around timing, particularly moving Kai, that some of it that's underspent because the bills haven't actually been paid as yet, or have been probably as of today, as opposed to what's in this budget here? Is it a fair assumption?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. The problem with presenting a 6-month snapshot is.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Just picking up on that idea of free labour or resources, do you have relationships with Lincoln and other providers, people who have come out and qualified and as arborists or whatever, want a cadetship or an internship? I know you've had people out here in the past over the summer, like Ruby and Southern Co.
Yes.
Do you have people coming out to get that actually would do summer work and provide free labour?
We've just had for the whole summer for free, we've had a ranger from the Nelson Ranger School. We said we've had one before, and we said, well, we can't fund them this year, and they said, well, you can have them for free. So we had 3 months of a young ranger. We have quite a few people who work in the park for us. We're a little bit of problem with them with health and safety regulations. Some of them have been doing stuff in the park for a decade, right back to Greg Burns' days, but we're limited as to what we're allowed to let them do. And then, of course, we have a wide network of schools and banks and Rotary and clubs and everybody who own a biota node, each of our 27 biota nodes. And some of that money coming from DOC, if we get it, is to put in another 12, 15 or something biota nodes, and each one of those we try to get someone to own them, and therefore they maintain them, they bring people in, and then it builds the whole volunteer network. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any further questions to the report? No, we've got something on the table. Do I have a move? Councillor Ward, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Hopefully the difficult times are behind us, and I really have to say a big thank you to you, Gail, for holding it all together, because without your leadership and your commitment, I'm sure we would have been in a different situation. So a big thank you from all of us to you for doing that for us and for persevering, and I'm hoping that moving forward that with the new structure and the new people on board that you'll come up pretty quickly. But I would like to hear in the future more involvement from the iwi and more support from the iwi, that they come on board as well to support us, because it is meant to be a cooperation between the two. So I just hope that can come through in the future, but I will be supporting the recommendation. Are we doing 5.1 and 5.2 at the same time, Mr. Chairman?
Just 5.1.
5.1. Well, he's happy to support 5.1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just look, again, thank you to Al. I mean, he has held us together in some pretty tight times, along with Joseph Hullen, who has been there. Certainly, Al was there when I was there the first. Joseph was there the first time I was there as well. It's been pretty tough. I mean, there's been a lot of turnover, a lot of different things happen, a lot of lost ways, a lot of forward ways, a lot of good things, a lot of bad things, and I can almost hear the questions rattling around in everybody's head. Is there risk to this? Of course there is. There's no question about that. But I think you have to put your faith in the trustees and be assured that it will be all right, and that it will move on. Good questions today, and I mean they needed to be asked and they needed to be answered. So I hope you've got the answers that you require, and that the trust can move forward and get some things done. There's no question that the cloth is being cut to make it what it needs to be. The projects will come as funding becomes available. It's a matter of running on the smell of an oily rag, and some pretty bad times that have been mixed with some things that have happened along the way to put the trust in the position that it is. But I think you'll find that in the next 12 months it will come right pretty quickly. So I hope that you will support the recommendations that are in the paper.
Councillor Ford.
Just commend Dr. Blackie again for his work. You really have been the glue here, I think, and perhaps it is appropriate that we've got a dentist in charge, given what we've seen in the mouth of Tuatara. So well done there. Just want to say that is my questions directed at the finance and accounting down criticism of the staff. I think it was just trying to establish actually the extent of the problems you've had, and I'm assured now that they're literally in good hands. So well done, keep up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Regent.
Yes, thanks Al for coming along and fronting up. Not easy, because it seems in the past things have been, if I could say, a shambles. So I'm pleased that you and the Deputy Mayor, as trustees, are having another look at the organisation and hopefully putting it on a more professional basis. I first became aware that things may not have been as they seemed when I had former staff from the Waikuku camp grizzling to me about how things were going. So obviously it hasn't happened overnight, but it is good that the current trustees are going to address those issues. And like Councillor Ward, I would also encourage the iwi to contribute their share, because it is a fantastic resource we've got on the beach, and it's something we should all be proud of. So thank you guys for hopefully turning it around.
Thank you very much, Councillor Eden. Any further? No. Just from me, I really appreciate the candour in which you've come to the committee to report on everything that's happened in the last few while, and I appreciate the transparency as well. It seems like you and the team have a really good direction moving forward, so thank you for all the work you're doing, and Deputy Mayor. Vote of apply.
Okay, thank you.
I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Alright, thank you very much, and if you don't mind sticking around for 5.2 now, statement of intent.
We haven't got Chris to help me. I really have got nothing to add because all the comments I've made that are non-dollars and cents apply as well. Basically, take that as read, and I'll try and answer questions, if any, and I'll pass them over to Jeff. Or Greg.
Thank you very much. Any questions to the report? Right, Councillor Fulton.
I do have one statement of intent, and who's best placed to ask this, but given that we have a certain amount of representation as a council, don't we, as a sort of a shareholder in co-government, but that our representation doesn't actually have any relationship to the amount of money that we're putting in the state that we have expenditure, does it? So, is that, how do we reconcile two things that our government's partners got certain?
Yeah,
not putting the money in.
Jeff might know. I'm not sure that there was it was ever laid down that the iwi would contribute dollars on an even basis to ours. Is that right, Jeff?
Yeah, and it wouldn't be equivalent to their representation or their, government.
Yeah, Otago provide 3 members to the trust, and generally they've worked pretty hard over a period of time since the trust was established. So that's not where the issue is. It's with the ongoing operational funding. I think in the early days they actually did contribute quite a sum of money. I think it was around about 250,000 to establish the trust, and it got it underway and so forth. And their contribution was $50,000 per annum, which is now dried up, and we need to understand why that's not being provided. So we'll contact the trust and find out what's happening to that contribution, which normally comes forward. It's a small trust, and it's always going to be as strong as its trustees and a small number of staff that are there. It does back well above an average, and it has a strong community input in terms of its volunteers, which to all counts run very well, and we get good value for money out of it. The council puts in administration in kind, as well as 150,000, which is contributing towards making sure that the trust is meeting objectives to turn it into natural forestry and a natural environment walkway for the community. So we'll have a talk to Otago and see what is the issue around the funding. It may be just something simple about implications since the manager's left, but we'll see what's happening here.
Thank you.
And I'll just say you've seen on the statement of intent the bits in red which we've added in since the staff presented it to our council staff. It's all pretty self-explanatory because all that money there is nearly all that money is Huru Reserve money, which is, as I've explained, we've got plenty. That's the bit we've got plenty of. So I think that's self-explaining.
Yeah, just in the changes of statement of intent, you'll see that they've been updated to reflect operations, but the key one here is the 3 additional measures that have been put in around the Huru Reserve, which is significant capital works that's been undertaken. So they'll be reported back to the council as they progress.
Thank you. Any further questions? Very appear to be none. Do we have a mover? Councillor Fulton, seconder. I think it's second from the chair. Councillor Fulton.
Having to support the statement of intent, and I'm pleased to hear that there will be some inquiries as to get things out with the co-governance part. Thank you.
Councillor Fulton. Just from me, seconder. There's a lot going on in the future of that park, and I won't hold back work by talking too long, but I just want to commend the team for the continued work that they do to restore what is going to be a jewel in our district. So thank you very much.
Chair, just a history lesson really. You've got to remember that this was a piece of land that was given to Ngāi Tahu. Ngāi Tahu said they wished to gift it back to the people by forming a CCO, which was a 50-50 trust between the Waimakariri Council and Ngāi Tahu themselves. There is no monetary promises there. There never was, and there never will be. There will be monetary promises in sporadic years, one would say, from either party. It is not a prerequisite that 50-50 partnership meant funding. Never has been. And if you have a look at every piece of paper that has been produced, it doesn't mention anything about that at all. So we need to be blissfully aware of that is how this trust works. It's about a gift of land that two partners work together to make sure that it is set in perpetuity for the communities of New Zealand, not just for our community, to be able to use and to be able to see how things work and the way that sometimes in history they have worked. So just keep that in mind when you think about the contributions. The contribution from Ngāi Tahu has changed from the point of view that it first came from the differences that they had. It came from Ngāi Tahu, then it went to the local iwi, and then the iwi now is working in a different way than they were before. So all of those changes take time to come through, and I've no doubt that there will be funding come forward. But it is a little different, and you need to get that into your mind, that it is a 50-50 trust, as in land and as in operation, not as in finance. Finance will come as it is applied for and from those whose generosity will shine through in time to come. Plus the trust has the ability to actually bring in its own income, of which is being worked on and Al has already talked about. So, those are the things that we need to keep in mind when we look at these statements of intents that we're going.
Thank you, Deputy. Any further speakers?
It's just listening, and a thought that came to mind just talking about the history and where we're at and things like that. Does the Tuhiwi school get involved with the children, learning about what's happening there, and so that they understand from the history and they appreciate, so that they, as they grow, they can also be aware and be part of what's happening?
Short answer, yes. Tuhiwi School is one of about 18 or 20 schools that have regular interaction with. Back in June last year, we lost our education ranger. As I said, it was Michaela, who was excellent at dealing with the school groups that were coming in. So that whole education involvement part of it is in abeyance at the moment, because we haven't replaced her, because we haven't got funding to replace her. But we will eventually get that, and then when we've got an education ranger, we get 2 schools a week coming through the park, being taught the entire Iota Node biodiversity Mariora system.
And also not only biodiversity diversity, but sustainability as well. So is that an avenue that we could get extra funding from to support that and try a two-pronged approach?
We try.
Thank you.
You go find me some funding, Joe, that'd be great.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Do I take that as your right reply?
Absolutely.
I'll put that to the table. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you very much, Dr. Glenn. Thank you. We'll move on to 5.4, amendment to Treasury Policy.
Thank you. Our Treasury Management Policy sets out the way we manage our borrowing and investments. One important aspect of it is our policy in relation to how much of our borrowing we have at fixed interest rate as opposed to variable interest rate. We take out fixed rate borrowing either by having fixed rate bonds or by having interest rate swaps, where we effectively take out a swap and that fixes part of our borrowing as if it's fixed rate. Now the aim of doing fixed rate borrowing is to reduce the volatility, the risk associated with volatility of interest rates. If we have, as we do, sort of just over $200 million of borrowing, a 1% move in interest rates is $2 million a year. None of us particularly want large swings in interest rate costs affecting ratepayers. But of course, you can use interest rate strategies to try and minimise interest rates, and we seek to do that. But the key objective here is about reducing volatility. If I could refer you to page 54 of the agenda, I'll just explain the change that we are planning to make. There's two charts on that page. The top one is our current policy, and the one below is our proposed policy. The two red lines define how much of our borrowing we should have at fixed interest rates. So at the top there, it shows that our minimum level of fixed interest rate is 50% for the first 3 years, taking it out to 27 or now 28 as it would be, and then it drops down, I think, to 30% for a further 3 years. So it means some of our borrowing needs to be at fixed rate out for 6 years, and as I say, to begin with 50% and then dropping down to 30%, and then drops out altogether as a minimum after 6 years. And the maximum also just heads down in line. The proposed policy change, and this was proposed to us by Bancorp, is to effectively reduce the amount of fixing required. So for the first 2 years, it requires a minimum of 40% of our borrowing to be fixed, and then after 2 years, that drops down to 25%. So that bottom red line there in the second chart drops away a lot more quickly than on the top chart. So that effectively means we could have rather less fixing of our debt. It doesn't mean we necessarily will have less fixing, it just is about more flexibility. So at the moment, we are quite near the bottom of our fixing limits. If we move to this new policy, we would be more in the middle of these fixing limits. When I talked to Miles at Bancorp about this, I've suggested we wouldn't want to be moving down to the minimums of the new policy. And that isn't what he'd be recommending, but he is recommending this flexibility. And one of the good illustrations of why this flexibility would be better is if we look at the top chart, when the red line comes down to December 30 at the bottom there, you can see that our actual fixing, shown in green, is now short of policy. So that little grey area underneath the red line there is actually where we're out of policy. To bring us back into policy, we'd have to take out over $60 million worth of fixing or interest rate swaps to bring us into policy. Now that is interest rate swaps that cover us for a period of 6 years plus. So we'll be looking at taking things out to 2031, 2032. So that's quite a long way out. And that's what Miles would indicate that at this point in time, he would only be suggesting taking out interest rate swaps for policy purposes, not for good treasury management. So it kind of a lot of fixing requirement pushes you to make a decision just for policy compliance rather than necessarily what our Treasury advisors would suggest is best to do. So that's why he's suggesting having a more flexible policy. It doesn't necessarily mean less fixing, it's just more flexible and stops the need to put in place fixing where we wouldn't necessarily want to do so. So it's open for you to stick with the existing policy, and that's been in place for a long time and served as well. But the recommendation in the report is to move that more flexible policy.
Any questions of the report? Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Peter. I just noticed in the last couple of years we've talked about our sort of peak debt period. Is it coming up into sort of like 27, 28? And how does this correspond with having more flexibility and fixed rates? You know, if you is it our peak sort of debt accrual? Is it in the next couple of years? And is it better or worse to have flexibility during that period?
So you're right, our plan to debt in terms of our long-term plan is to increase over the next few years, and around the middle of the long-term plan then starts to fall away again towards the end. But the way the policy works is it just goes up with the amount of debt. So in a sense, it makes, unless the debt was going to change absolutely radically, it just moves up and down and doesn't really change things too much. So I don't think that's a factor in this suggested change. If debt was dropping away to not a lot, we'd be looking at things differently, but that's not realistic. Our debt level doesn't go up that much in terms of proportion to our turnover, and that actually falls away towards the end. So, but we're not increasing debt by any great significant amount in terms of proportion to our operation, nor are we reducing it a great amount. So it's a fairly stable situation. So a reasonable point to put the policy in place.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question around Miles was obviously going to be with us today, and
technology is
not technical, but not yet. And this is a recommendation to council with Miles. Would there be not a workshop, but a presentation from Miles before this goes through council, just so that I understand what you're saying, but I just wonder whether that's worthwhile, whether we could include that in the excuse me, in the recommendation, if that was something that the Audit Committee would like to do, so that when it comes, we've got it there.
Oh, we're happy to. We'll hold the report up if that's been any comfort.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about holding a report over, because this is only a recommendation to council.
Yeah.
It's only getting Miles along there to present.
Definitely we'll get them along. The software issue doesn't appear one we can fix. It seems to be with the software company that that's reasonably came online. It's interesting when you talk about debt and interest rate swaps and trying to cover your debt. Just want to remind the council, I've seen all this stuff on social media recently, and it's starting to raise its head again. Just to assure this council that almost half our debt is because of the earthquakes, and building back better, and it's a strategy that this council used to ensure that we're in a good position going forward. And around about 100 million we paid out for that. Our council has been prudent in its approach to debt management. We haven't changed our 250% of operating revenue to debt. That stayed at 250%. The actual local government funding agency allows us to go to 280%. Because we're a growth council, we can go to 350%, but we don't use that option. You would have heard in the media recently, councils going to CCOs, and the reason they went to CCOs is because they're going to take their debt to 500%. This council is going to do an internal, and it sounds like I'm trying to preach here, but I'm just trying to give you some comfort that our debt is well within manageable levels. We're a AA rated credit agency, and we manage that interest rate quite effectively to keep maintaining a AA rating. You might hear in the media in the next month that Standard & Poor's are thinking about doing revisiting the credit across the whole sector of local government because of the gap in infrastructure, which this council doesn't have. It fixed its infrastructure many years ago and continues to actually meet the standards required for water supply, and that's why another reason why the internal business unit for our growth is the best way to go. What this does here is it allows you to manage the interest rate cover that you have over the debt a lot more flexibility. Yes, it can cause risk, but in times that we've got at the moment with increasing interest rates, that maturity cover to the debt rolls off is a lot harder to manage. And our Treasury advisor, which is Bancorp, have advised us that it would be more effective and we get better interest rate risk cover if we were to actually have a longer extension of that second table that's shown there. So there's a long-winded explanation, but I could sense a little bit of anxiety about changing this. And it's just to sort of put it into context that you know, the debt that we've got going out, it does peak around about the middle of about year 5 and 6 of our long-term plan. But the debt that we're forecasting, I think, goes down to about 145%, which is well under the 250% of our policy, and the 350% that we're actually allowed to go to under the local government funding agency. So it's just to put a bit of context.
Councillor Reader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just following on from Jeff. Greg or Jeff, are you able to explain perhaps a little bit further council strategy for debt repayment? I note in paragraph 4.7 we're actually re-borrowing to repay existing loans. I think we probably have a wider strategy than just that. So are you able to explain that? I too read social media where it's alleged our debt is out of control, which I don't agree with. So perhaps if you could explain what is the strategy for debt repayment?
Yes, certainly on that, and certainly our debt is not out of control. There's two elements to this. There's the physical borrowing from the local government funding agency that we take out, and we take out loans which might be for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or longer, and they need to be repaid after that period of time. And so we often and normally would repay that loan and then re-borrow. So if we need to have borrowing, and we've got 210 net at the moment, you have to keep re-borrowing because it comes up to maturity after 2 years or 4 years, and you re-borrow. But in terms of our actual funding of our expenditure, we take out loans. We manage this internally through our processes relating to major projects or major activities. And as part of our funding process, we make internal loan principal repayments. So we build into our funding requirements the repayment of debt. So it's like in terms of your house, you might borrow money to put in a new kitchen, so you start to repay that borrowing. But then in a couple of years' time, you then redo the bathroom, and then you take out another debt and you start repaying that. So your total debt doesn't necessarily go down as you're repaying off your kitchen and then your bathroom, because you've got more projects on the go. But you are putting aside money for repayment. So in terms of our projects and activities, we are putting aside money for repayment and funding those properly. But in terms of our actual borrowing with an external party, we just borrow to manage our treasury needs. We can't borrow over a 30-year period. We borrow, say, about 2, 4, 6 year type periods, and then we repay that, and then we borrow that. So our debt is essentially in place to fund capital expenditure, and we do set aside in our funding the repayment of that capital expenditure.
So our loans are not the normal domestic principal and interest loan like we might find on a household mortgage.
What we effectively do is an internal process, a bit like a table loan, a mortgage, but in terms of our external borrowing, that's as lump sums and doesn't have principal repayments during the period. It matures in total. So if it's a $10 million loan, it matures in total.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think to add to that, Councillor Redmond, is that our funding or financial strategy that we've got in place, we actually fund depreciation. So at the moment, we're an internal investor as well as a borrower. So we'll have one account that borrows to another one and pays the internal rate of cost of funds. So it earns an interest based on that. So we're not investing in probably in about 15 years' time, if we stick to the same financial strategy, we'll be mainly an investor. We'll always have borrowing for certain activities, but we'll be a net investor because of the depreciation funds we're building up to pay for the replacement of billions of dollars worth of assets that will become due for repayment, replacement in 30 to 50 years' time. It's something that the local government sector and the central government sector will need to get its head around, because just setting up CCOs and trying to find efficiencies is not just the only thing we'll need to do. But we need to make sure that they're putting aside funds that avoids them taking out debt in future periods, because it's just not sustainable to take on that type of debt in the future. At the moment, it's fine, but to continue that, they'll need to, and that's what our strategy shows in our infrastructural strategy. So there's two tables which I can point you to in our long-term plan, and it shows you how much debt we've got, how much, and it's with the prospective debt statement. It shows how much debt we've got, how much we're borrowing, and how much we're repaying each year. There's another note there, and I think it's note 22C of our annual report, where we actually inform the public how much we're putting aside for the replacement of assets, and that's a reserve fund which we have across all our accounts. Quite proud of that one. It's a leading best practice in the sector, and I keep on trying to preach it to everyone whether they accept it or not.
Thank you.
Any clarification? Any further questions? I'll just have one really quick question. I noticed that there's a wee bit of a decrease in the minimum amount of lending. What's the potential risk that when interest rates are quite good and we have a large capital infrastructure, that we stick close to the minimum and don't maximise the potential savings in future?
Yeah, that is the risk with reducing the minimums. And as I said, I wouldn't want them to be running at minimums because we know when interest rates start to rise, as they have done at times, they can rise quite quickly, and that will expose us to more variable rate debt. So I'm not suggesting that the intention of this policy is to necessarily reduce the amount of interest rate fixing because of that risk, but it just, in terms of the management and the advice given to us by Bancorp, it just allows more flexibility in the way we do it, and doesn't require us necessarily to take out expensive fixed rate borrowing or hedging at a point in time when it's not sensible to do so.
And possibly just to Jeff, at what point would you consider maybe looking at hedging 60 or 70% of the short-term debt? Like, what would the process be to be thinking about that from a start perspective?
Yeah, it's like a moving target all the time. You're making sure that you're always staying within policy. The discussion comes around what you think the interest rate is going to be in the future, and whether you stick to the minimum requirement of the policy or you start building up to the maximum. But at this stage, with a decreasing interest rate, you tend to sit on the minimum and look at on the outer years a bit more than what you do. But yeah, it's quite a robust discussion. At the moment, I think our average cost of funds sits around about 4.1, which in percentages across the council, which is in the lower regions of most councils across New Zealand. And I think we would be trying to take advantage of the downward trend on that curve to make sure we lock in a bit more as we go out. But once again, the reason these maximum minimums are in there is to avoid speculation and putting the council at risk of actually going outside of what's an accepted range within our policy. I remember we had a debate when we built the stadium up the road, and we could have taken out at that stage, a huge loan and fixed it. We'd have been in a very good position. But what would happen if the rates went down further? And it's one where you find you're in a situation of trying to minimise your cost of funds, but being within that range which is affordable, and not expose yourself to interest rate risk.
Thank you very much. We've got a mover in Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Chair, I'm very happy to move this. There's one word that's embedded around this table from the start of this discussion, and that's flexibility. And the flexibility to move in and out of these policies to make sure that it fits us today, it may not fit us tomorrow. And that flexibility is what we should be using to make sure we're maximising our position financially. And this will allow us to do so. I look forward to it coming to council, so the whole council has a vote around the table on it, and that we also hear from Miles on the position as Bancorp to see it. I think that'll be something that's really worthwhile. Look, we could change all of our policies if you like, and get rid of depreciation like some other councils do and all that. If you want to be like the electricity department, then you know, that's probably a good way of doing things if you want to. But I do note the other day that they're talking about $24 a month per person in this country for the homeowners. Now that's the sort of rate rises that you would have if you didn't depreciate, and you need to throw in capital. We do it right. We depreciate, we use the funds, we make sure that we use those funds to rebuild things, and our infrastructure plans are there to cover them off at the right rate. I think personally that, and I've always thought that it's a ridiculous thing to go back to the country and say, oh, we're short of infrastructure, we don't have enough electricity, oh, put your hand in your pocket, we need to increase it. We've got it covered in what we do, and we make sure that the minimum amount can be asked for from the ratepayer and other people because of the depreciation and the way in which we run this council financially. So I hope you'll support this, and the key word for me is flexibility.
Councillor.
Thank you. I also will be supporting this recommendation, and I want to congratulate our finance team, Jeff and Greg particularly, for your expertise and support over the last year. It's been invaluable, and Bancorp have always been very good at looking after us and guiding us through our financial times. So I am very proud that we are one of the top councils in New Zealand with our financial management, and I have no hesitation in getting the flexibility into our borrowings for future, because we have a really big task being one of the top growth councils in the country. We cannot stop investing in our future, and borrowing for the future is the only way that is fair and reasonable for generations to come to support what we are actually putting into place in our infrastructure. So I think this is very good, so I'll be supporting this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Mayor Ward.
I also will be supporting the recommendation, and I think that's the, I think as Greg and Jeff talked about, it's actually about finding that right balance that we've got here. I'm really proud of what our team delivers here. It's a balanced approach. It's always been conservatively based, and it's been one that the council has fully understood over the years. There's a lot of misinformation starting to be spread about our debt position. I think it's because those who are spreading that fundamentally don't understand how it works, and that the approach that we take here is about not only investing in today, but it's making sure we're investing in tomorrow. It's no different than a house owner. I know it's slightly different to a degree, but you know, at the present stage, I think some of the sums I've seen is that we've got an asset base and we're borrowing around 10% of that effectively. I think that's a prudent approach. Not everything can be funded by cash. If we had the cash, we're in a different situation, perhaps you would consider that. But I don't want to find that we're then got a huge impost on our ratepayers for paying the consequences. We seriously looked at that at the time, and when we were doing the earthquakes and around the earthquake recovery. There's no way we could have got back to where we are at now without having taken on debt in order to make sure that we didn't have a huge impost and effect on our ratepayers. We also took the view that it was sensible to build back better. Why would you build back the same? And why wouldn't you have taken a loan position that then meant that we were in a much stronger position there, and you paid that back over a period of time? I remember hearing a few years ago when we were sitting through the LTP hearings, some with an alternate view on the world, that you don't take on any debt. And when asked questions, they simply couldn't answer it. And I think there were questions like, did you not have a mortgage in the day yourselves? And I think, look, everyone's had a mortgage, I've got a mortgage. Around interest rates, we're always looking at that, engaging what is the right way of how we manage that. I'm proud of what our team's done. And I think we should be all collectively proud of the policies that we have that set our district up in a strong position. Remembering, external agencies look at us. So we're AA rated twice by the local government excellence program, Standard & Poor's. There will be some fluctuation in there, we know that, but we're still AA rated in that space. The local government funding agency, they don't come up with conclusions without looking at a complete picture, and we're praised by them for by how we manage our debt and our borrowings. We have a balanced approach. We wouldn't be able to have recovered from the earthquakes, built stadiums, and the very things that the public do regard and rate strongly without taking the approach we have. For those that advocate a different approach, what are you going to take out? What are you going to remove from our budget in order to get that down? And that's the question that I will be asking over the period of time: is what do you remove? What do you remove from there that gets you positioned differently? Greg, I know it's we are talking about our Treasury policy today, but I'd just like to take the opportunity of thanking you for the role that you've played, stepping in, I think, so ably over the period of time, and you've added greatly to our understanding here of our financial policies, but also critically through the discussion around Three Waters. It's really aided and assisted us, and I think probably made Jeff's job a little easier over that period of time, that he's got somebody that's been able to support him. I wish you weren't departing, but I appreciate that may have consequences for your marriage if you don't. But in all seriousness, I'd just like to conclude by just saying thank you so much for all that you've done over this period of time, and wish you well for your future.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Councillor Reedman.
Thank you. I'd just like to endorse those comments made by the Mayor. And I know it isn't in this report, but I've enjoyed working with you, Greg, and your approach, and in some ways you'll be missed, but I look forward to sharing a drink or something with you shortly. I also look forward to hearing from Miles, if he is able to attend the council meeting, to get his view on the economy and where our policies fit within what he's, well, he doesn't have a crystal ball, but he can make an informed guess, I suppose. And I'd just like to say that I have no concerns about the council debt, and I think you've explained that well with Jeff. And I would like to echo some of the other comments that I think we're a leader in our financial management in the local government sector. And I think in part that comes down to the council, but also the staff, and we've had good advice. So thank you to you, your team, and also the CN. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just a point of clarification, it wasn't amended to include Miles coming to the next meeting, or was it amended?
We can just do that.
We can just,
I
think Jeff clarified that.
Yeah. All right, any further speakers? There appears to be none. I'm not too sure if there was anything as right or wrong. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on to 5.5, which is the 6-month financial statements for Waimakariri Public Arts Trust. Thank you for coming along. The floor is yours.
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you. We've actually had a very positive 6 months late last year and into this year, which is a little change than what we've been experiencing in the years gone by. We've had our challenges, but I think we're finding our feet, and I would like to cover some of that. The current projects, we're working still with main power, and that should be a significant sculpture when it's put in place. We've had our moments with it in the past, but I think they are now sorted, and with the help of council and some contracts, we're underway with that. You'll be pleased, and I'm sure you've seen the new Herbert sculpture that has been mounted in Kaipoi. We've heard lots of good feedback from that, and it's a lovely structure, and we're proud of it. And of course, the new project is with the Kaipoi Bridge, and I know for the council that's a big one, and we're very pleased to be part to help that happen. We've sadly had some withdrawals of other projects that we've got, lack of funding, the Hannibal Lane one, the library mural one has to go on hold as well. So we're sad about that, but we hope that funding will come soon and we can continue with those. Another two emphases for us in the last couple of years, in the last period of time, has been looking at how better we can promote the trust itself. We're not well known, and we think we need to know it out there and work on that. But of course, that creates for us a lot of challenge with funding and expertise to work in that area. And we've also nearly finished our arts trail, which we will have mounted soon, and that has resulted from us documenting all of the artworks, public artworks that we have, making sure that they're in good condition and that they will now go into an arts trail, and we will be pleased when that's online. I should signal the trust went through some significant change last year. We managed to get 3 new trustees because some trustees left, and I was appointed as the chair earlier last year. And I certainly became aware of the need to look at how the trust is operating, was operating, and should be operating. And there are a lot of gaps that address. I have to say we've got a very strong group of trustees. They are very significant within the arts community, and they bring a huge range of skills that are excellent. But we're all volunteers, and what we have are still some gaps in the way we operate. The areas, of course, are finance. How many groups struggle with that area? We just have not had a person on the trust who can provide that sort of leadership. And the other area was a lot of governance functions we were struggling with. So we advised council that, and we've had some very good conversations over the last period of time to help us address those. Particularly in the governance area, you'll be aware of the importance of contracts when you're operating with artists. You need very carefully developed contracts, which was way beyond our ability to do, and council have stepped in and helped us put in the right sort of contracts that we need for that. So the areas still that we are struggling with are finance, and we're currently putting in place the services of a person who will help us with that. Our reporting has not been adequate, and we're very aware of that, but the person we are hoping to work with us is very competent in that area and will understand the reporting processes much better. One of the problems is the limitations of finance, and I'm sure council have never heard this before. It's a struggle because we do have funding, but because we need this extra expertise, we have to pay for it. If we don't get it, we just can't get it done. So there is an issue there with funding, and we would need to have a good review this year to see how we are in terms of money we're trying to put aside or get to pay for the expertise of finance and the other areas, IT. We have now a trustee that has got some abilities in the IT area, which will be the basis of our promotion. But again, we're all volunteers, and we have to be careful that our trustees are not overworked in that area. I particularly want to acknowledge the work that the volunteer, your arts coordinators have made. I want to acknowledge Michelle Wilson, who did a lot of work for us and really significantly helped us get on track. And I'm very pleased that Mel Austin has joined me this morning, as she's a new person. I don't know what to say a few words.
Yes, just to introduce myself, I started as the new community arts facilitator 3 weeks ago, so certainly still feeling my feet, but yeah, looking forward to working with Wilson in the trust and other art groups.
Again, can I say the support of that role in particular, Michelle and now Mel, is really significant for us, and we're looking forward to going further. Another key development with the council was, and we've almost finished it, is a memorandum of understanding between the council and the trust. And once we've got that in place, I think we will be able to operate much more efficiently and respond appropriately not only to council requirements, but to our clients, to our artists, and how we work together. So the key focuses for us now this year are to get on with our projects, but also to look at promotion and to also look at the financial management and our reporting procedures. The MOU will cover those very well. But I also acknowledge the support we've received from Councillor Blackie. It's very important to have that on our trust. So I think that covers what I would like to say. I'm happy to have any questions.
Thank you for the report. Any questions of the report? There appears to be none. Do we have a mover? Mayor Gordon. Second is Councillor Fulton. Mayor.
Just to say, acknowledge Wilson and the team. I think you're doing an excellent job. And we are putting a number of projects to you. And just so you're assured, I did have a conversation with our general manager covering that area, especially with the project on the bridge, to make sure that we are making sure you're resourced to provide us with that device. So I had that conversation with Chris on Friday. So we had a really good meeting, Deputy Mayor, myself, with Councillor Redmond and Jackie Watson, along with the family on that project. It is one that's personally very important. And we do want to see it delivered, because it will make a real difference. But you'll be relieved to know that we've reduced the scope significantly, that it's hopefully be a lot more manageable than what we first were talking of. But we're having a catch up in a couple of weeks, so we'll be able to inform you where that is. But just the range of projects that you're involved with across the district, and I know that the organisations I'm involved with, like the Kaipoi Art Expo, which provided the funding for the beautiful Raymond Herber sculpture, and others across the district, they make a difference. But you've got to have the right philosophy behind that. And we do recognise that we're in more challenging financial times, so like Hannibal Lane, we are looking for the funding to partnerships with likes of creative communities and with private philanthropic, and let's see where the gap is after that. But we can't put everything on the rate part. There's a balance there, and around the arts, it's always been that challenge, Wilson, as you'll know. We've been involved with a number of organisations in that space over the years. I would particularly like to acknowledge Councillor Blackie. He is very passionate in this area and has a huge skill set, and we're lucky to have his involvement, and I'm really thankful for that. But also your own, Wilson, you come from a variety of different organisations and groups and bring a real rigour. We appreciate the work that the Trust are doing in order to make sure that we are getting public art, we are getting that philanthropic side of support, so it adds significantly to the work that we're doing here. I'd like to see more art and sculptures, and I've got a friend of mine that's very keen on getting a Trevi fountain here in Rangiora. I don't know how he's going to fund that, but that's another matter. I told him he could leave a bequest to the council like Harry Harper has done, so he's considering that. But isn't it great that we're talking about these things, and that we have a coordinator to help? So thank you for those words, because I think Michelle, has done an extraordinary piece of work, and yourself in the role, I'm sure you'll get your feet under the table well and truly in due course. But we are really lucky that we have, I think, in this district, a place where the arts is very much part of our fabric. It's an important culture, arts and culture, and an important part of our fabric going forward. Our community do value it, and do value the aspect that it brings and celebrates that. So thank you for what you're doing, and that I have no hesitation in supporting you.
Councillor Fulton.
Like to commend you on your work personally with your team. It's never easy, the tight financial times, changing personnel, bringing in sort of new and improved systems. It sounds like you're doing that. Just sort of one piece of comment was particularly in light of the recent council and community event at the Logan War Memorial. I stood there and actually thought, what a lovely structure, but it's actually made me wish, I think, that every public installation that we have in council with our community groups, it's a piece of art, and I consider that as a tremendous piece of art. And we put up buildings all the time. We put up walls and structures and shelters and seats. If we start looking at things through a sort of an art lens, I know there's a cost to that, then working with you as a trust, and we can do so much more. Rather than looking at art in isolation, actually it's about working with our council and our, as much as we can to make sure that we're always taking the opportunity to install a piece of art and partnership with the was a good example. So keep up the, I know it's not a piece of work, but just for the thought, keep up the work.
Thank you very much. Any further speakers? Yes, nothing to reply to. I'll put that. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Will.
We'll move on to 5.6, Waimakariri Art Collection Trust.
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
This report is to present the 6-month financial statements for the Art Collection Trust. I'll take it as read and take any questions.
Any questions to the report? There appear to be none. Do we have a mover? Councillor Ward, seconder. Councillor Williams, Councillor Ward.
I just want to thank you for your report and thank you for the work that you do, and we look forward to seeing the final report at the end of June, so and see how we get on. So well done, keep up your work.
Councillor Williams, nothing further to add. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to the financial report for the council. 5.7.
Thank you. This is also the council's financial report for the 6 months ending December 2024. The surplus for that period was 1.3 million against the budget of 7.6 million. The reason for this variance is mostly down to revenue rather than expenditure. So the DC revenue was 6.6 million under budget, and subsidy revenue was 2.0 million under budget. Yeah, so the DCs is generally that the developers have not completed the next stages of the development yet. We did do a little bit of work talking with our development team in PDU to see what they know of what developers will be doing over the next 6 months. Yeah, they did there won't be a lot happening again in the next 6 months, so we expect the next 5 year will also be well under budget. One of the things the DCs is used to fund growth capital projects. And in cash sense, we have got some help with that. Our spending on CapEx projects for growth is also under budget at this point, and that's 10.9 million under budget, so that's helping us in cash sense, even though the DC revenue is down. The other point I'd like to talk about is in the balance sheet, the debt is showing at 240 million. I think it was also touched on in the last report that we've changed the process to now be pre-funding our repayments. Effectively, that change is coming out to fit more with S&P's methods of reviewing our credit. They give us a better rating if we demonstrate that the cash we've got on hand will cover the debt we have to repay during the next year. So what we're doing is drawing down all the cash that we need in advance for the repayments we need to do during the year. So that cash will be showing on our balance sheet, and it will give us a more favourable rating from S&P. Are there any questions on the report?
Any questions on the report? There appears to be none. Alright, do we have a mover? Councillor Ward. Deputy Leader second. Councillor Ward.
Thank you. I note that we only in this next year we are budgeting to only borrow 20 million, which is you know, there's, given what we need to do and the growth that we're doing is means that we are very well placed to do a lot of the capital expenditure with a limited amount of further borrowing. So I think that's pretty good considering where we're at. And I just also know that we are in very good hands, and you're very prudent, and well done to the team. Thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you.
Any further speakers? Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your report, Paul. I think it's summed up in paragraph 4.6. We've referred earlier about the council's debt position. Contrary to what Jeff said earlier, our external debt is 8.3%.
Yeah.
So it's under 10% of council's total assets. So we're well within our guideline of 15%, which, as we've indicated previously, is conservative in any event. Interest costs are 5.8% of operating revenue, and again must not exceed 15%. So we're way down on where we could be. So I think we're in a pretty good position. So thank you for your team. I'm not sure where Greg fits into the team, but you're all part of the team, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further speakers? Councillor Ford.
Just similarly drawing attention to 4.66 as concise a summary of our debt position as I've probably seen in a lot of reports. It just something that struck me, and it's something that can be highlighted, not so much the figures, but on an ongoing basis. In 2 or 3 paragraphs, it seems to hit the mark for me. And if people can't understand or 30 seconds doing that, then we're lost.
Thank you very much. There appear to be no further speakers. I'll reply. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you very much, Paul. Everyone's with that. Moving on to 5.8, corporate risk register update.
Good morning. I'm presenting this on behalf of Sherry Ann. We come every 6 months to update the committee on the corporate risk register, which is owned by the management team. They review this very regularly. There are monthly meetings with the Level 2 manager and Sherry Ann on risk, and then regular discussion at management meetings. So I take the report as read for your information.
Any questions to the report? No? Right, do we have a mover? I'm happy to move it from the chair. Thank you very much, Steve. I just want to acknowledge the team's constant reviewing the risks within the district. I took a wee bit of glee noting that civil defence is now a little bit more of a risk. It's been diverged into the various impacts across the district along with staffing. Not glee in the sense that we want to have those districts, but noting that it's getting the acknowledgement which I think it can deserve, because sometimes it's parked in the back corner. But in that, keep up the good work. And yeah, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
No.
Any further speakers? There appears to be none. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Racing through it, we'll go to 5.9, non-financial performance measures.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, so clearly I'm not a lead, so you have to put up with me today. So look, I'll take the report as read, and happy to try and cover any questions that anyone may have, but I think overall we're pretty well.
Thank you. Any questions of the report? There appear to be none. Obviously well in the report. Do I have a mover for the report? Councillor Ward, seconder. Councillor Fulton. Councillor Ward.
Thank you very much for all the work that you're doing, and I see that we've improved our performance measures the second quarter. So that's we're on the right upward trend. So just keep up the good work and see how we can continue with good work. And I think those performance measures are pretty up there. So I noticed that the drinking water compliance bacterial and photos do not achieve target this quarter. Well, I think that that's pretty hard. If you just get a slight little blip, it sort of stops it. So I don't think that's any concerns. I know that we're compliant and we're moving towards the UV upgrades and we're doing everything we can. And so keep up the great work and thank you very much and all your team.
Councillor Fulton. Thank you very much. Any further speakers? There appears to be none. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on to 5.10, Capital Works quarterly report.
Good morning. I will take this report as read. It's a report that the committee will be well familiar with as our quarterly update. Probably the things I'll just comment on that you're also well aware of. We've had the transport choices funding withdrawn, so that has quite an impact. And the other thing that's noteworthy this year in particular is year one of the NZTA funding cycle, and we get very late notification of our budgets several months after the financial year starts. So the roading program in particular has been impacted by both of those issues. The other thing that's worth mentioning again, we do, being a growth council, we have a lot of developer-led projects, and it's very hard to anticipate when they're going to progress, and then there's some that are impacted, like community engagement, and we'll get that stage one. We're going through quite a process there with the community. And as always, we are recalibrating ourselves in terms of our optimism on projects, and there's still room for improvement. I think we're going to see some of that happen this year, where we have been a bit optimistic on some, but I think in the coming financial year, we actually put the program through taking that into account as well. So I'm happy to take any questions and so it's comment.
Thank you. Any questions of the report? Councillor Williams.
Developer contributions and holding things back has been brought up before this and yourself. Is it worthwhile council actually having a meeting with some of the developers to see what the problems are for the developments in this area compared with developments in other areas? To help try to improve and iron out some of the problems some of the developers have.
We do. So we actually, on larger developments, have PCG meetings with them. And in terms of putting together our budgets, we always put developers' aspirations under some scrutiny. And often in the coming year, you'll see with the impact we've got at the moment, we've made some allowance for development, but there has been tempered by staff. So we do meet with developers, we've got private developer agreements on the larger developments. We're a high growth council, and developers are really, they've got a lot of things to contend with, in particular market forces. Things have been a bit quiet on the development front in recent times, and we're just seeing that in some of the projects look, we always do meet with developers and try and make sure that we've got a good understanding of their program and how that fits in with our capital program.
I was more meaning a group, a meeting with all the developers together in a room rather than individually where they can speak a little bit more frankly and what have you, because I compare with Selwyn Council, the developers are developing full noise over there, but not here.
Well, yeah, look, I think there's lots of reasons. Yeah, I don't want to get into the way that Selwyn manage their growth and development is different to us. We fully charge for our development contributions, and I know that Selwyn has made some choices not to do so. They're in a completely different financial position to us as well, where they have now, I suppose, a little bit to recover from their future ratepayers as a result of some of that, and that's my understanding being a conscious choice. So, look, and we do engage with the development community, and we certainly, the kind of meeting we have that with contractors where we feed information out to them, but look, developers are competing against each other as well, so we've got to be a bit careful we don't, you know, in terms of they might disclose things to us in a one-on-one meeting that we keep in confidence, and particularly to do with the timing of their development, they might not necessarily want to share it with other developers. And look, all different councils take different approaches to things, and I actually think we're very responsive to engaging with developers in the way that we currently do.
Councillor Hawes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Chair, and the team for this report. A couple of specifics on the projects. I noticed it's at risk and delayed. You've got all three Oxford supplies. Oxford number one, you talked to the consenting issue, what the delay is there, and you've also got Oxford Urban, Oxford number 2, upgrade consenting, that's a delay. So, are they significant delays, and what's these are major projects for the year?
Yeah, so just to clarify, I think there's just two projects you're talking about. The Oxford Urban one is funded part by the Oxford Urban scheme and part by Oxford Urban number 2, so those will come up twice in the spreadsheet, but for one project.
Okay.
So that one, well, for any new water source, we establish the source needs a protection zone around it, and then if that protection zone goes onto someone else's property, they become an affected party of that consent, and sometimes it can be really quick to get that sign off on them, other times it can take quite a long time to work through. So we have, I think we're pretty close to the Oxford Urban one. We did had to do a bit more work modelling the protection zone and ended up justifying it being a bit smaller than the first cut, which is good for the landowner but still gives us adequate protection. And then the Oxford number 1 zone, we are still having ongoing negotiations with that landowner. We are making progress, but not as quick as so that, yeah, it is progressing, but not as quick as we had hoped.
Any further questions? Just a really quick one from me. I appreciate that different councils will have different ways of reporting this information, but do we have a general benchmark as to what would be usually completed task load for councils across New Zealand?
Not top of mind. I do think there has been some work done to try and understand that the Infrastructure Commission have been doing a bit of work, not just for councils, but for all. And it is a problem with any, whether it's private sector, councils, government, delivery. Part of it is to do with we don't. It's almost impossible to get 100% because we can't overspend our budgets, and we also you know, there's always going to be things that come up, and some of it's within our control, just our own resourcing, but some of it's completely outside our control. If it's a resource consent issue, or it's a community issue, or it's a third party. So I think on the whole we actually do pretty well, and I think the key test for us is we don't have an impact on our levels of service as a result of this. So we're managing our program in a way when we put our LTP together, so that when we know we need to have infrastructure replaced, we're planning that well in advance. You'll be aware that the UV project, we've had to respond quite quickly to where effectively the rules changed overnight. So we were of course catching up there, but we've accelerated that program. There's other things like long-term renewals, we plan for those and implement them. And you'll be aware we've got a number of LTP projects that are many years in the making, the Brandon Link, the Oxford wastewater that we're progressing at the moment, so that we're setting ourselves up for success when we do take the year that they're budgeted to be under construction. I should have actually made another point when I introduced this report. It's a relatively minor one that we just didn't get in time for this report. The reserve road generator on the wastewater pump station at Waikuku Beach. We're overspending this year's budget by $11,000 because the existing generator is failing, and it's a vulnerability that's unacceptable for us to have from a risk of overflow point of view. We have $15,000 in next year's budget, so between myself and the Chief Executive, we've advanced that work, but I'm just, if it had happened a few days earlier, we would have captured it in this report, so just for completeness, just advising you of that.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Ward to move. Any seconders? Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Boy, oh boy, 433 projects in this tracking spreadsheets. That's a lot, and that's on top of the capital works carried out. That's not all the capital works carried out by you guys. So I'm in awe of what you've actually achieved in a year. That's just like, oh. And we're doing it all in-house. We're not doing it with consultants very little or anything like that. So I think you guys are awesome. So right across the whole spectrum, it's a huge task, it's a huge job that you have. And I just want to say a big thank you for everything that you do. And I'm hoping that with the weather and other matters outside our control that we can achieve 78% at the end of this financial year. So I'm very happy to accept this recommendation. So, and please keep up the great work, because Capital Works program in our district is really what we need to do, what we need to be very efficient about in a growth district as we are. And there's so much we have to do, so much we have to achieve. We can't do it without a great team. And I know we have a great team, so thank you very much.
Just endorse the remarks of Councillor Ward and the reflection on all our team. I think Jared, right across the board, you can be very proud of what we do. I'm getting a lot of questions about the level of cones and things out there at the moment. I said, well, that's because we're a proactive council that gets work done at the right time and around weather, but also because we've invested prudently. And that's what our entire strategy has been about, around depreciation, the Capital Works program. It's about reinvesting constantly in that, and so I'm really pleased with the performance here, and I think we can all and should all be in that place. Just around Councillor Williams' question around developers, I support 100% the approach you have indicated. I meet regularly with developers who come to see me on a variety of things. Chief Executive and myself do. We're also proactive, and we go out and see a number as well, just to have catch-ups with key people that are making significant investments in our district. I don't see the need to undertake what was being suggested because of the level of proactive way in which we engage, and also those developers do know how to make contact with us and to have those discussions. If there was a difference in that, we can always look at that, but I'm not seeing that that's a need. I just re-stress that it's really important for us as elected members to understand the boundaries that exist between development, community, resource consents and the things that we do. And I have been stressing that to a number recently, because it's just important to remind us that while it's really important to hear what's being said, our staff have a function which they've got to undertake professionally on the council's behalf, and that level, and if we cross that boundary, we put all manner of things at risk, and then open ourselves to potential judicial reviews and other processes. So it's extremely important that we do, while we keep connected, that there is a balance there, and any concerns we have around that, or we pick up, we address it through our chief executive. That's where it goes. It's fine to sit down and have a conversation as I do, but then I recognise where my role sits and where I then undertake that conversation back. So it's just a reminder to all of us around that, because we'll all get approaches, and that's absolutely 100% right. But just recognising where our role fits in there, especially in governance.
Yeah, look, this capital works program, I'm hearing people sort of starting to suggest comparing with other districts. That's a very unhealthy thing for us to do. The districts are different. It doesn't matter whether they're growth different districts or declining districts. They're very, very different. Stuff that Selwyn, for instance, which has been mentioned here a couple of times, have had imposed on them, puts them in a very different situation than we are in. So I just want to, I mean, it's a shot across the bow, really. We don't need, while we need to keep a watchful eye on what neighbours are doing and lessons to be learned if we need to, we don't need to be comparing ourselves with what's happening in other districts. We have a very, very well run the Capital Works program by people who are very professional and experts in what they do for this district. And they may very well, if shifted, have a different view in a different district. But that is a different district. It is not us. And we need to make sure that we keep the eye on the ball in this district. While a little eye in the background tells us what other people are doing, and if an innovation is worth picking up, then I'm sure our team are professional enough to do so and advise us of that. But comparing us is actually a very dangerous thing to do in this space.
Thank you. Any further speakers? There appears to be none. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. And nice verbatim report of the day. Members, pecuniary interest registrar.
That's one of the many requirements that we have to report this and get it on our website. I'll take the report as read.
Any questions to the report? Everything. No questions, but we have a mover. Second it. I'm happy to second. No. Nothing further for it. Beautiful report. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. I will presume there's no general business or anything aside. Portfolio updates. My apologies, Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Thank you. I have seen a copy of all the reports through to Tia, but just the first one from Marie with customer service. We've been busy with recruitment for the contact team. Fortunately, there has been a lot of interest, and we're getting near the end of the process. The third instalment of rates was due at the end of February, with collection being at a similar level to previous years. 1,906 letters have been sent to ratepayers, where all or part of the third instalment remain unpaid. LIM application levels remain high, with numbers for January and February 355 total, close to last year's figures. The team have been kept busy with the implementation of the new Datascape system, with training on cash receipting, cemeteries and curbside bins occurring this week. So that's from Marie. So then my next one, I don't suppose there's any questions there, is there? No. The next one is from Alistair. I'll do Greg's one first. Greg says, Audit 24-25, staff met with senior audit staff to discuss the audit for 24-25. The plan is for an interim audit of council systems in late April, and then the main final audit to start in mid-August. We expect to adopt the annual report after the election on the 29th of October, just before the deadline of the 31st of October. Audit raised some areas where they believe we can bring forward or streamline our processes to avoid some of the delays that have happened in previous years. For example, they suggested looking at asset capitalisation and revaluation processes and timetables. Staff will do this. Treasury Management, as mentioned at the last meeting, Standard & Poor's have been reviewing this score for the institutional framework in which we operate. That is for the New Zealand local government sector as a whole. This score affects the credit rating for all councils for which they issue a rating. They have recently reduced their score and are now considering the impact of the reduction on individual council credit ratings. We should know more in the next few weeks, but any change for waimakariri would relate to factors outside of our control and not the council's actions. Annual Plan 25-26, the draft annual plan was adopted last week and will be out for consultation later this week. Although there are no major consultation topics for the annual plan itself, the consultation does cover our proposed approach to the delivery of water services, which is a matter of significant public interest. As usual, hearing and deliberations will take place in May. So that is from Greg. Thank you. Your last one. And then just one more. I have had a really full report from Alistair with customer services, and I just read a little bit of it, but there were a lot of attachments which I forwarded on to Tia, who will forward them to you. There's something like 722 pages of all sorts of comms, consultation, feedback, everything that you want to know about what's been happening in the numbers. So a lot of reading there if you're interested in that. But the main body of the report from Alistair says local water done well. A council has been leading the communications for local water done well on behalf of Waimakariri, Hurinui and Kaikoura councils. Recently we announced the next steps in our partnership, which was to go in different directions on supplying free water services. The media interest in this has been managed well, and there has been no creation of conflict between the parties due to comms being centrally managed. We are consulting on a preferred model on the draft annual plan and writing to ratepayers to inform them of the consultation in March. We expect a lot of submissions. The draft annual plan, the team have been working on creating the draft annual plan document content since earlier this year, and I'm pleased to say that it was recently adopted. We are now getting engagement pages and platforms ready for the consultation period to open later this week. We're also arranging marketing collateral to go out to promote the engagement period. Rangiora Health Hub. The comms team have been working to provide updates on Council's potential involvement in the health facility in Rangiora. Given the high interest in this project, we have been careful to address any incorrect, false information circulating in the public while being clear on the Council's position. Civil Defence Awareness Campaign. Towards the end of last year, we undertook an e-newsletter and social media campaign to educate residents about the different roles with emergency management at the Council. And then the parking engagement, this topic is one that is always popular. The team have been involved in a project looking at parking supply and ongoing provision in the coming years. There have been multiple engagement, consultation, touch points with residents as business owners to date, and we are currently out for engagement on proposed changes, treatments going forward before a final report will come to the council for adoption later mid-year. So then there's a lot, all this here which I've sent through to Tia, so these reports will be sent through to you, and lots of good reading, folks. So are there any questions?
Any questions? Appears to be none. You haven't read through the whole report yet, have you? Right, any questions on the standing orders? No? Urgent general business? Right, the exciting part, next meeting, the 13th of May 2025. Thank you very much for your attendance. I'll call the meeting to a close at 11:42.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.